Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video on 7 Deadly Sins. And today we're going to be going over the upcoming training cave or training dungeon that's supposed to be coming out within the next couple of patches or so. I don't think there's really a definitive timeline on when it's supposed to be coming out, but if we go over to here to the little battle thing, you'll notice that I think it's, training dungeon right here, training grotto, it says underneath it. This is where you're going to be getting a lot more resources and stuff like that to help you with equipment. If you're anything like me, you probably haven't been working. You probably didn't worry about equipment too much in the beginning stages of the game, but now that I'm sort of towards the late game, this is pretty much all I work on is equipment and stuff like that, and trying to get just trying to get your resources up and stuff like that, because you have to worry about your substats and trying to get them to a decently high percentage, because I honestly feel like the percentage your substat and the percentage is really where most of your gear score comes from, and that's pretty much what boosts most of your CC. HP is one of the ones that boosts your CC the most, as far as I know. But yeah, so hammers are not in the game yet. They're on JP already, but hammers are going to be a really big thing that are coming with the training grotto or training cave or training dungeon or whatever it's going to be called. I'm assuming it's training dungeon. But yeah, so right now all you can do really is you can use anvils or gems, preferably not gems. And then if it's lower pieces of gear, actually it's not even gems, it's just money and anvils, which in this case you would rather use money over anvils. But yeah, so say if I were to look at one of these stats, like the HP stat, this stat is a 1%, it's really low. I would want to get it higher. Right now the only way I could do that is to get a bunch of anvils or use gems if I was, feeling frisky, I guess, and I would just keep rolling this over and over again. But the problem with that is there's 4 different substats that you can get for each different item. For HP stuff, it's I think it's HP, resistance, I want to say maybe crit resistance, and then lifesteal, I think. But then, for the attack ones, you've got attack and pierce rate and a whole bunch of other stuff. Each one has 4 different things that you can get. Now, this one has crit resistance. But yeah, so for your defense stuff, you want to have defense as your substat. So this one is kind of screwed over right now. So I would need to re-roll some of these stuff to get defense on those. But the main thing about hammers is that, so I'm just leaving this right now. I could end up re-rolling this and trying to get a higher HP stat, but there's no guarantee that I'm going to get HP, and it's going to take me, depending on how my luck ends up, I'm going to end up having to roll a whole bunch of times just to try to get it up to a decent percentage. So the thing with hammers is that you're going to be able to use 5 hammers, and it's going to kind of roll, and it'll increase your substat by point so many percent. I think it's random. It's either 0.1 or all the way up to, I think you can actually max the stat out using hammers. I'm not positive on that. I don't know what the highest increase you can get from hammers is, but that's really big, because for the moment you've just been able to, you're only able to re-roll the entire substat. So hammers are going to be really big. They're also going to make it to where I think they're adding UR gear with it, because in the training cave you're going to be able to grind out these little crystals and stuff like that you can end up upgrading SSR equipment into UR gear. But if I'm not mistaken, I think the way that works is there's only going to be so many characters at one time, or at the beginning of it, that are going to be able to use UR gear. And if it's so UR gear has to be bound to a specific character. So if I were to make UR gear for Escanor, which I don't think Escanor is going to be one of the first ones to get UR gear, because his stats are so high already. I think they just recently got Escanor's UR gear on JP. But for example, if I was going to do Escanor's UR gear, I would upgrade this and meld it to Escanor, so that way he gets the bonuses from it being UR gear. And then if I were to put that UR gear on anybody else, they wouldn't get the bonuses from that. It would just act like regular SSR gear to them. So you can still use it on other characters, but if you bind it to that one specific unit, they're going to get a lot more benefit from using it, which is really cool. It's just another way to boost the equipment even further. And I have to say, I've been messing with equipment for the last couple of weeks, since I've pretty much finished the story and everything. And I've basically just been trying to get my CC a lot higher so I can do like the final boss king event and stuff like that at a higher level. And equipment is by far the most in-depth thing about this entire game, and it's super crazy, like all the stuff you have to worry about and resources that you have to grind out and put into it. So yeah, if you haven't been working on your equipment at all, try to start working on like getting at least some of your substats on the right rolls. That way you can at least use the hammers whenever it comes out, and you can start kind of upgrading those lower stats and getting them a little bit higher on percentage. If we look at Jericho per se instead of Escanor, like I have, I've actually gotten a lot of my rare gear. The reason why you would use rare gear is just because you can re-roll the stats and stuff like that using money instead of anvils and stuff like that. So it's a lot, you have the resources a lot easier, or like the resources that you use are a lot easier to obtain because you can just sell stuff to get money or grind out some of the different like Fort Solgris events or whatever to get like treasure chests and stuff. So yeah, that's why you see a lot of people use rare gear. Some people use like even use common gear in their right slots, and then they'll slowly upgrade their SSR gear because obviously it's going to give you a lot better stats. But the problem is I now have to re-roll this to try to get rid of that crit chance and put it back on attack. And then, I'm going to end up having to, once the hammers come out, I'll have to, try to boost all of these stats up and stuff like that. And eventually I'll move over and start, converting these to SSR gear as well. So that way the character becomes, as good as they can get. But, there's a lot to it. Obviously, you're going to have to do a lot of research because there's a lot to the equipment system in this game. I had no idea it was as in-depth as it was. If I knew it was this crazy, I definitely would have started working on it when I was a lot lower of a level, because I was throwing away a lot of my little equipment shards and stuff like that. These little things down here, these enhanced stones. I was throwing a lot of these away because I was like, well, I don't have the inventory space for it, and your inventory is pretty limited when you first start and you don't know what to throw away. So I ended up choosing these, which was a huge mistake because I could have been just upgrading my equipment and getting my characters up to a better like CC in the beginning and taking advantage of that, where I was just selling them for gold. And there was a lot of the times where I was selling my old equipment and stuff like that for gold, whereas I should have been coming over here and salvaging my equipment to try to get stuff like the little enhanced stones and just, the awakening stones and stuff like that. So definitely start looking more into equipment because that's going to be your big thing. Other than that, the big thing with the training dungeon is that you're only going to be able to use the characters that you go into the battles with one time, and then they're done. So you can't use the same characters twice. And I think it resets each week, but I'm not positive on that. So kind of start like getting some of your characters up a little bit more, so that way you can go in and not have to worry too much about like you can use some of your like less important characters for some of the like lower level fights that you're going to be doing, because I think it's split up into 3 different tiers. There's level 1, level 2, and level 3 fights that you can do, and then there's a gauge that you'll fill up by doing those fights, and then you'll end up doing a big fight at the end. And you preferably want to keep your bigger, better units for that last fight, so that way you can actually get through it and get as much of the rewards as you want. So yeah, it's going to be a game changer as far as the equipment system goes and stuff like that. So definitely start looking into it, because equipment really is a big part of the game. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hopefully this was a little bit helpful. I would definitely, if you're super interested in it and want to go ahead and get a better idea of it, look up some of the people who play JP. I personally don't play JP because I can't read any of it, and I don't want to take the time to like try to learn the interface and everything like that for the systems that I don't know how to use already on global. So yeah, look up some information. You can see some other people actually do the training dungeon on JP if you want to, and kind of get a feel for it. There's obviously some other YouTubers that are going to be doing a lot better job than me of explaining this, because I don't play JP at all. So yeah, just do a little bit of research, because it's going to help a lot, and it's going to be a big thing that's coming out. Whole new game mode that you can kind of work on each week, give you something to do. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this was a little bit helpful and informative, and feel free to subscribe, because I'm going to be doing a lot more 7 Deadly Sins content in the future. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one.